Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. And I gotta say, this Miko, I'm concerned. I'm concerned about the new girl, but we'll get into that. Before we do, I want to give a big thank you to those of you who shared last week's video over on Twitter. At Janime, at Matt87Eagle, at Clear Chicken, at CatPassness, at Bubba Lover, at Similarity, at DarkFirePlayer4, at Sirius9752, and at Blue Rose Enigma. Thank you all so much for sharing last week's video over on Twitter, everybody. And if you too would like to have your name shouted out in next week's Kaguya-sama video, then be sure to share this video around on the internet, and then tag me at JoJo Talks Much over on Twitter, and I will be shouting out the first 5 of you in next week's video. But with that said, we're gonna go ahead and get into it. So like, comment, subscribe, get some sleep. Okay, so we're gonna get into it. Yeah, as you can tell by the little get some sleep, oh my god, the wonders that a couple extra hours do for folks in, not only in this show, but in reality. You gotta get your proper 8 hours. I see so many people going like, oh, I get 6 hours. Oh, I get like 4 hours. You need 8. You need 8. Otherwise, that's not very healthy. You need your 8 hours. And Shirogane actually getting his 8 hours in is nice to see. You know, like, I don't always get 8 hours in. Sometimes you do have to work a little bit late into the evening and it kind of screws up your sleep schedule. I get it. And Shirogane being the president of the student council makes a lot of sense as to why the man's not getting a whole ton of sleep. It absolutely makes sense. I totally get it. And the fact that just getting a couple extra hours gave him like sparkly eyes and like actually improved his health to such a degree that people around him were not only able to notice the fact that he was actually well rested, but also the fact that he had like a whole different aura about him. It's very Shirogane, and it's very much Love is War to a T. Like, very goofy, like these little things that the show manages to blow up into something huge. Like Chika being like, what the hell's wrong with you? And Ishigami's like, was there a curse lifted? Did I miss something? What happened? And it's I don't know, there's just something really funny about seeing Shirogane so shockingly well rested that he's like, he's full out like Chadogane all the time without the moon needing to be risen, you know, like the man's just in his element. Sort of. There is a hitch to it. But I do want to point out too that when he is well rested, the characters that he knows, like that he's friends with, like Chika and Ishigami, they're actually almost put off by this. And Chika even manages, or rather chooses, to walk several feet behind him. And that leads me to a point where I can't tell if this was a subtitle thing or if this was actually said. But the line, like, what's up with the social distancing? I have to believe that was a subtitle thing. Did they record, like, in time to make that social distancing joke? They do it twice in this episode. So I can't tell if it was in the actual episode or if it was just a subtitle, like a subber joke. I don't know. Either way, it did get me to laugh, so I don't know why I'm complaining. But regardless, Shirogane's realization that his well-rested self has sort of impressed the rest of the school. They are moved by the man's well-rested vibe. The mere presence of Shirogane is now like getting people to ask him to go to karaoke with him, getting people who normally didn't give him the time of day to actually say hello to the man. It's impressive stuff. So I have to assume that all these gears spun in such a way that it actually gets him to think, wait, if I'm cool right now, if people are starting to assume that I'm popular, this means, yes, he can use it against Kaguya. Or so he thinks, because it doesn't quite go that way. This part of the episode, I was a little bit like, huh? Like, because I thought it would work 100%. And then you figure out why, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And it also says a lot about Kaguya. But Shirogane is just like, hey, Kaguya, how do you feel about me? Like Shinomiya, how do you feel about me? How do you think the student council, or how do you think the student body feels about me? Like, you tell me. And he gets real close. And she's like, I think you're a hard worker, and I think you're a good person, but you're a little close right now. And he's like, huh, what? And he tries it again. It still doesn't work. Same reaction. You're a little too close. And I'm thinking, like, what about this is different? And then I realized, oh, shit. I realized as the show did, where I go, oh, shit. Kaguya actually prefers sleep-deprived Shirogane. And I almost called him Shinomiya. She actually prefers sleep-deprived Shirogane. which admittedly, so did I. I didn't like seeing him like that, and that says a lot about me as well, but I was like, no, you know how I said earlier in the episode that everybody needs their 8 hours? Addendum, everybody but Shirogane needs their 8 hours. It didn't suit my boy much. I don't like it. But yeah, his whole plan backfires, and at first I'm thinking that this is kind of a big red flag, right? Because the fact that she prefers him looking one way and is actually put off and sort of disillusioned when he actually is well rested, I was like, well, that's a little bit selfish, you know, that's a little uncool. But then we find out that no, Kagi is still interested, and she actually goes to ask help for Nagisa, or rather from Nagisa, and I have to say Nagisa. I cannot call her Kashiwagi because this is Kashiwagi. He is from Yakuza. That's the only Kashiwagi I can, accept. Her name is Nagisa. So Nagisa is there to offer Kaguya some help, and it doesn't quite go the way you'd think. Yeah, you see, Kaguya is calling this the spark between her and Shirogane true love, which even I was just like, that's a little bit of flowery language. That's a little bit intense. That's a little bit much. And Nagisa felt the same way. Like, geez, that's almost embarrassing to say. True love. No, true love. That's a little too much. And Nagisa feels this, right? So she's like, okay, Kaguya was there for me and got me together with my boyfriend, so I'm gonna try my best to help her, nudge her in the right direction to get her a little bit closer to Shirogane. However, the problem is that Kaguya, Shirogane, and the entire student council are not normal. So what normally would be good advice, which is couples can be selfish sometimes. Sometimes you like your special person, sometimes you like your significant other looking a certain way, and you can't help but prefer that certain other way. It just is what it is. There is a level of selfishness in love because you love that person a specific way. You still care about that person regardless, but yeah, sometimes there is a level of selfishness in your romantic interest, and that's fair. I feel like that's fair. I think anybody watching this would agree. Sometimes you can be swayed by appearances. But Chika doesn't agree. Chika thinks true love is Beauty and the Beast, and Ishigami thinks that realistic love, it's okay to feel those feelings. So Ishigami more on the right path, and my boy looked like a star right there, by the way. I gotta point that out. Ishigami's like, why can't other people accept that realistic love is truly where the heart is? Anyway, I'll catch you later. And he just walks away. And Nagisa's like, that was really weird. But Kaguya is just like, sometimes he can say the right things. And it's like, what the hell just happened? And then the most terrifying thing I've ever seen appears, where it looks like Shirogane took a trip to Silent Hill because my boy looked absolutely friggin' terrifying. And I gotta give my kudos once again to the art team because he looks spooky. But that was the point. And this is where I have to talk about something that Kaguya has now, that even Hayasaka noticed, and the show noticed as well. And that is that Kaguya has a bit of a kink now. And this is a kink I've been seeing appear over time slowly on the internet. Not many people had this. I knew some people. And this thing is the bizarre interest in seeing your favorite characters, or in Kaguya's case, your favorite people, in distress, I'll say. In a less than healthy state. And that mainly being, specifically, I think I first started to notice this in Supernatural, where they would constantly have Dean looking like he got the ever-living hell knocked out of him. And I definitely don't have that kink. Definitely not. That would be ridiculous. Definitely not. Okay, look, it's Supernatural's fault, all right? Don't blame me. But yeah, Kaguya seems to have that very specific kink I think it comes from a desire to want to take care of said other person. I don't quite know why or how that has appeared, but it has appeared, and Kaguya has that specific kink. God help Shirogane. But yeah, even I think Shirogane looks better with the tired eyes anyway, so I don't know, whatever. Moving on, I want to talk about the next part. There's a lot to talk about in this week's episode. I don't think this week's episode is necessarily as funny as previous episodes, but there is a lot to talk about. I'm going to quickly touch the other two, because the other two I don't have, like, one specifically I don't have as much to say, but it is the funniest part of the episode, and that is Shirogane learning to sing. This was a lovely, lovely, lovely callback to the volleyball episode, which is easily probably one of my favorite gags in the show, and I quote it all the time. Like, when Chika does the whole, like, I raised that boy. Like, that is my line whenever I see my faves doing something, like, really extra. Like, seeing Deku go, like, full out and, like, get a big moment in My Hero, it does make me go, like, I raised that boy. Like, that line from Chika is so ingrained in my brain that when Shirogane says, I can't sing, I'm like, oh, she's definitely thinking about the volleyball incident. And yeah, she totally is, which I did think was kind of a fun little callback. The whole this whole section of the episode felt like a big callback to the volleyball episode, and I can't help but really enjoy that. I thought it was funny. I didn't like, but I kind of wanted Shirogane to suddenly burst out into like a big solo or something. But I will say that this actually also is a nice little touch because I feel like it really paints the Shirogane and Chika dynamic really well. I think, because I have seen people be like I shouldn't say people, I've only seen this once, but somebody shipping Shirogane with Chika, which I think is interesting. But I don't ship it, and I'll tell you why. The whole line, leave it to mama, is very clearly a joke, but at the same time, that is their dynamic, isn't it? Like Chika really does view specifically Shirogane as like somebody to take care of. Like every time like she does something, it's usually trying to act within Shirogane's best interest, but it's never romantic. It's very much a platonic, like, I care about you and I want to see the best things for you because you're my boy, because I raised you. Even though, and even Shirogane is like, I would really appreciate if you toned down the parental, like the weird maternal instincts. That's got to stop. You're freaking me out. But that is their dynamic, and I thought that was sweet. The other thing that, of course, I have to mention about this week's episode is Kaguya versus Miko, and Miko is a lot. This whole Miko, thing, I love that she actually diffuses and like destroys Kaguya by saying, you and President Shirogane belong together. And I'm like, okay, sweetheart. and this is where I'm gonna get a little bit mean, but know that I already kind of like Miko, so I'm only being angry because I love. But Miko, child, sit down. Like, don't assume that you know these people. Like, just the way that she's acting, I was like, okay, like, you're the reason why you haven't ever won anything is because you're too strict and your ways are so old school and overbearing. You don't even belong in this time period the way that you're acting. So maybe cool it by telling the previous president, who we've seen bust ass constantly throughout season 1 and the entirety of season 2 so far, bust his ass to keep that school going, and the fact that the school is running as well as it has is in part thanks to Shirogane and Kaguya and the student council. So maybe sit down, maybe have a seat. I do think she's fun, and I do think she's fun as an antagonist. I really like the dynamic she has with Kaguya, specifically the whole, like, Kaguya thinking she's being really sweet when actually Miko's, like, trying to say that she's awful, but Kaguya just assumes that's a compliment. I think that's really funny. And again, overall, like, the episode was funny, but it wasn't as funny as previous episodes, but I do think has some solid development for certain characters, and I really enjoyed it. With that said, everybody, I'm going to wrap up today's video here. Question of the day today: how do you guys feel about Miko? What do you think about the character's introduction so far? Let me know in the comments below. And with that said, we've reached the end of the video, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, then don't forget to boop the up snoot and share if you care. And if you want to see me rambling even more, then feel free to follow me on Twitter or join our good folks Discord, both of which are linked in the doobly-doo. Lastly, if you're feeling generous, consider checking out our Patreon page to help support this channel. Speaking of which, I'd like to give a big thank you to our lovely patrons, such as Izevi, Alex, Andrew W., Branson C., Calvin A., Crowbar of Irony, Daniel G., Deep Not That Deep, Digger the Fox, Dominic G., Emily, Ionos, Urza, Ginkotaku, Godzilla Fan, No For Nothing, Maria T., Marshall B., Mater, Mirth Mouser, Nymad, Cell, Shadow Creative, Stephen G., The Suavest Orange, Tristan G., and Veridin. Thank you all so much for your continued support over on Patreon, and once again, thank you for checking out today's video. Hope you guys have a lovely day, and until next time, you stay classy, AniTube, and wash your dang hands.